How's it going, internets? I hope you're having a wonderful day. It's that time again, time to animate, time for some daily animation, time to have some fun and get into this art and wonderful, amazing, creative process that is animation. Today we're going to kind of mix things up a little bit since we've kind of gone through the 12 principles of animation. I wanted to try something different today. But before we go there, let's go ahead and take a look, just a quick recap of what we've done over the last 12 days. This is just over at frankandollie.com, and feel free, if you're a beginning animator or if you want to refresh, to go ahead and read through all this stuff. I'll put that in the information below. We're just going to go over the 12 principles, the kind of keystones that you're going to want to keep in mind while you're animating. And those are squash and stretch, and that's remembering to keep a sense of volume and of anatomy to your characters, but also to add extra life and bounce and a sense of weight and everything through using the principles of squash to push things down and stretch to pull them up. Anticipation, that's really to help sell the main points of your action by using extra bits of hesitation or wait or preparation before the action. It helps make the character feel more alive and like there's a thought process behind the character before they do an action. Also, it helps direct the viewer's eye to where hopefully the potential of the main scene and the main point of your action is going to be, by anticipating it and causing the eye to naturally be drawn into that before you get into the main point of what you want. Talked about staging, and staging is kind of the layout of your scene, making sure that the background and all the other background characters, if you have multiple characters in your shot, and the camera angles and everything just all helps to solidify the main idea of your shot. We talked about different methods of working and the advantages of working straight ahead, which is going from frame 1 to the end of it, and how that gets a nice flow through your animation. Sometimes you can kind of improv a little bit in your animation and add things that you maybe didn't plan out, versus pose to pose, which is a lot more of a planned out method where you're really nailing those key storytelling poses of your animation. I talked a little bit about follow through and overlapping action, and that's if someone's turning, it's the first thing is the the hips or the shoulders turn or the head turns or whatever's leading the turn, and then everything that follows, whether it's dragging limbs or dragging hair or a tail or all that stuff. We talked about slow in and slow out, and how that's favoring keys and making those movements feel more realistic, as if I'm taking my hands here and I want to move them over to here, that we could slow in and then hit that, or we could slow out of it and move it quick and then slow in. Just add some mix up in your timing and in your spacing, and helps with that sense of anticipation as well. We talked about arcs and how almost everything moves in the way of an arc. If I'm moving my hand from here, from this point to this point, there will be an arc in the movement of how my hand goes. So you'll see like this whole thing makes an arc. If I'm doing a head turn, you want to add, instead of just doing a real mechanical from point A to point B, you want to dip it down or raise it up or do something where you're adding an arc to it. Unless you're doing a real mechanical shot, and then you're going to want to really play up that there's no arc, and that'll sell the idea of like a machine kind of animation. We talked about secondary action, and that kind of goes a little bit with follow through and overlapping action, but that's really all the other things that help to support the main idea. The main idea, is a guy goes over, picks up a remote, and turns on the TV. All the secondary action is, he looks at the remote, then what he's doing with the other hand while he's doing that, what the body's doing, if he's breathing really heavy while he's doing it, all that other stuff that brings life to your character, that is not the main purpose of your shot, but other keep alives that you can do that help to sell the believability of your character, or the nervousness of your character, the hesitation or the excitement of your character, and all that other stuff. We talked about timing and how holding things longer, or making things go quicker, or playing up variations in timing where you can do quick, 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 slow, 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 quick, and how how you can play up the different timing elements to add a variation to your scenes. We talked about exaggeration and how both the use of over-exaggerating movements and under-exaggerating movements both help your character to be more realistic. It also, especially with more cartoony animation, helps your characters to have more of a sense of weight or a sense of bounce or an extra sense of liveliness that wouldn't be there if we were just rotoscoping or frame by framing human movement. But with animation, it's good to always exaggerate that, otherwise just videotape it and put it up. But if you're using animation, you want to play up some aspect of it, whether it's a little more simple or it's a little more over the top. We also talked about solid drawing, and especially in 3D animation, that's really solid posing, and that all your characters throughout have a sense of anatomy to them, even if it's not like a human or an animal anatomy, but the anatomy is true to the character itself, in that it has a sense of weight and balance in its posing, or that it's thrown off by that, but that would be if the character is falling over or being wobbly or whatever. But you want to have a real grounding in your posing, that it's a strong pose. And then overall, you just want to have appeal. And appeal is just the overall sense that somebody wants to watch it, that there's something to it that draws their eyes in, that causes a person, through either the story itself or the animation or whatever it is. There's tons of different ways that you can look at appeal, and appeal can be defined in a bunch of different ways, but really that there's something there that causes an audience to want to watch what's going on. And that's just a little rundown, like I said, of what we've been talking about for the last almost 2 weeks now that we've been doing this. And today we're going to do something a little bit different. I thought it would be fun to try out a new rig. I've never used this rig before. It's free. It's available on Creative Crash. I'll put a link to how to grab it in the information below. We're using Maya 2014. This rig didn't work with the older version of Maya that I usually use for these streams. So we'll have to see if we come into any new errors or problems, or if it's a little slower with that. But I thought it would be fun to kind of mix things up. This is based on the creepers from Minecraft. It's a little rig. I've never used it before. So we'll see, kind of go through and figure out this rig together, and maybe create a simple kind of a character walk. Try to keep it in the 48 frames that we usually do with everything. So let's go ahead and create a base for this to stand on, and let's try and get a good starting pose. Again, I've never used this rig before, so it'll be interesting to see what does what. Okay. Let's see if there is an IK. No, it looks like everything is just FK. So this rig's going to be a little tricky, and it's going to be different from how we normally animate our shots. So we'll just play with it. We'll see what we get. Maybe it won't be as natural as our other ones, but it'll be our first time trying something a little bit different. Let's see if we can get some sort of movement back and forth between those. See, there's other... let's see if that just turns just that. It does. Okay. So we just kind of have to figure out what does what with this rig. Okay. So that has just connected it there. It's kind of got a strange layout to it. The other rig we've been using is a lot more straightforward, but that's okay. What's this gonna do? And what about this one here? Okay, that doesn't seem to control a lot here. So let's get it. It's gonna be a little tricky trying to get the feet to be solid on the ground here, but that's okay. And let's also kind of swing the feet out and over a little bit. Out and over a little bit. If you're not familiar with Minecraft, it's a really popular game these days, where you can kind of build your own little worlds. So I thought that would be kind of fun to try to play with something there, where someone, I know there's a lot of Minecraft videos and everything out there, and this is a free rig that you can grab. And so if you wanted to try and create some, custom animations or anything, it might be a fun way to get into that. Okay. And again, I've never used this rig before, so we're probably going to have some funky stuff show up today, but we'll learn together on here. I think I'm grabbing the cube versus... There we go. So I want to zero out. Oh, that's not going to... Let's go ahead and rotate that back a little. Yeah. It's going to be tricky with this rig because we're going to... I want to try to get some stuff that's planted. Okay, let's grab everything. We'll go ahead and set a key on 1. And let's go to 48. And we'll just grab the main base and we'll move that over there. So we just got... And the reason we're doing it based on the base instead of the other way is because the feet are probably going to slip here, so we're going to need to... Maybe we'll do just real... Could also do some translate up and down too. Maybe that would be good. Let's try that instead, because that would maybe give us some... We want to feel like the feet are planted somewhere here, and I don't feel like this rig is really going to let us do that too much. Well, let's try this idea that we already have going here. Okay, so since this is more of like a quadruped than a biped, which means it has 4 legs instead of 2, it's going to be a little bit different than our normal stuff. So let's go to 12, and we'll go ahead and rotate that X, rotate that in X, rotate that in X, rotate that in X. So we go. But see, we're going to get some intersection and stuff, and that's going to bother me. But it's a rig we've never used before, so we'll just try it out and we'll see what we get. I'll go 24, and I'll rotate that in X, and I'll rotate that in X, and we'll rotate those back out. Let's go to 36, and we'll rotate that out in X, and rotate this one out in X. Maybe what we could do instead is do almost little bounce steps. That can be fun too. We'll see. And then we'll rotate that back out. Okay, let's see if this basic idea works. And one thing we're going to want to do animation editors, graph editor. I want to make, oops, grab the wrong thing there. Translate Z, I want to make that so that that's an even, straight, left to right move. Okay, what's that? Okay, there's really no sense of contact or really weight or anything here, so it's going to be a little tricky. There's not a lot of overlap or anything that we can add here, so maybe what we can do is bring that down, and bring that up, bring that down, bring that up. We're just going to have to play with this one. It's not going to be a traditional kind of video for this one. We'll just try to see if we can get something fun and creative with this movement here. So let's see. That way we have a little sense of bounce and weight to it. And let's see. So this guy we could crunch down here to add some kind of squash and stretch up. And maybe even we'll raise it and disconnect it. Again, this is going to be different than most of my videos. I usually try to do those ones a little more realistic, even if it's kind of a crazy pose to start off with. This one is just going to be real playful. So let's see how that works. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, now let's go ahead and delay that 2 frames. Let's see. I really wish there was a better way that we could sell the feet being planted, though. What if we instead go into here and we'll do so I'm just going to go ahead and delete everything we had on there. You're like, oh no, we did all that work. Oh well. And let's go ahead and zero out everything again. Because I just feel like there's no sense of contact or anything, and that just gets rid of all the believability here. And we'll get rid of the rotate there. And let's grab all those. Oh, it's not gonna let us do that. Okay, it's gonna be a little tricky figuring out which controllers we may have keyed there. Okay, I'm going to create a new layer here and hide that so we can get in here. Make sure we can. Okay, I'm going to pause the stream 1 sec, and I'm going to fix this issue, and then I'll come right back. Okay, sorry about that. I just reopened a new file. Couldn't seem to find that controller, so we're going to try this a little bit different. So we're just going to kind of give us a new starting pose here, and we're kind of going to go with just each of these and see if we can do it that way rather than using the controllers, and we'll go ahead and add a little bit back and forth in the controller later. Okay, so just grab everything. We're going to set a key there. Graph editor, and we'll flatten that out. Again, this video, like I said, is going to be a little bit different. I thought this would be a good way to kind of go in and test some other rigs, so maybe if you guys were looking for a new rig to try out with your animation, you could do that. But it's definitely going to be a little more of a trial and error here. But that's okay. That's what a lot of animation's about. Especially when you're first learning. So we're going to bring that down. Let's just work on the hips for a little bit. And up, down. I just really want to feel like there's a contact with those feet. I think if without that, it's going to be really hard to sell this as a good walk. these up. Here and rotate them out there. And the rotates there and the translates there. Let's see. Okay. Well, we're starting to build some stuff here. We'll just do it as... Well, we'll just see. We'll see what we get. Again, we're going to mess around with this for... We'll do our usual... and we'll rotate those out. And rotate those out. So let's watch that. Boop, boop, boop. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And we'll go into this guy. And translate him up. Rotate him out. We're going to want to offset all these too, but I just want to get the main stuff working before we get too far in. Okay, now let's get a little bounce in the head. We'll have it drag up there and squash down there. And there's going to be some bounce in between and skip over there, so we've got to be careful with that. And just see what we can get that looks nice for today. I hope you guys like this different take on these, and we'll see if we end up finding some new rigs that we like to play with. Let's see. Let's see if we can do the movement based on here, because it doesn't seem to have a good way, but I don't want those feet to slip, so it's going to be tricky. No, let's not do it that way. That's a cheesy way to do it. Okay, so keep those feet planted there until there. But then we want to bring all of that forward till there, but we're not bringing those controllers. Okay, now let's do a little bit of, let's just keep working on these. Okay, it would probably favor that way because that'd be the planted foot there, and then it would go that way, because that would be that newly planted foot, then back to that way, back to that way, and back to that way. So let's watch that. Okay, let's turn those rotate down to 10. And then let's see, if it was this way, it would rotate like that to allow for the raise of that foot up. And rotate that way, rotate that way, rotate that way, and back to 0. So let's go into the rotate Z's. Okay, so let's see. Okay, treat this kind of like the shoulders as well. So we'll do the opposite there. Okay, and let's do a little bit of rotate this way. So let's squash it on this side and stretch it on that side. Rotate that way. Rotate there. Rotate there. And then back again. So let's watch that. I think we could tone that down a little bit. Even it out as well. And again, never used this rig before. Popped it on about 5 minutes before the video started and just opened it up, and we're cracking in there. So we're seeing if we can get something. I kind of like these challenges. Give myself, you know, anywhere from an hour to 2 hours is kind of where we've been keeping these videos, and just see what we can come up with. And now with, you know, using a whole new rig that we've never opened up before, it's going to be a challenge, that's for sure. I wonder if we could go in and create even like a toe controller, just so we could have something to plant on the ground. Let's see. I want to take the back feet and have them be 2 frames delayed from the front feet as well. 2, so I'll do that. What if we just moved them forward just a little bit? Let's see. So maybe we need to angle the feet instead of keeping them flat. Let's try it out and see if that works. So we'll have like this foot rotated up and there, and have it slide back into there. That way there's some movement there, and that'll feel a little more believable. And we'll have that foot rotate till it's there, and up. So it's just like on the tips there. So they would like plant there. Yeah, that feels a little bit better. That would mean we need to rotate this back and up. And we got that position that we want there. It's going to dip down, so we got to be careful about that. Okay, let's take it where it's there. Forward and rotate it up. Let's try watching it now. It's starting to feel alright. Again, we don't have all the controllers and everything that would be nice to have in this rig. Some real feet and the ability to put them in IK instead of FK so we could plant them down would really help, but we don't have that, so that makes this a little tricky. Because we don't want them to slip. But maybe we could just put that forward just a little bit more and that would help. Let's try watching that. Well, let's continue with this idea before we get too far into it. Okay, so we want to rotate it down and up, maybe even forward. So it would go, because we want it to slide over, so we just have to pick it up there. So we just want it to go. That feels almost like it's contacting. Just don't want it to feel slippy, and we're going to probably get a little bit of that through here. So we gotta move up, back, and rotate it so that the tip's touching. So let's see. And we'll raise that up. Okay, let's try watching that. So I'm gonna raise that up. Okay, let's try watching it from this side. And let's go ahead, and another thing we're gonna do is we're gonna put the feet out a little bit more. At least the front feet. So I'll go into translate X, and we want to delete those other values. And just the translate X. Let's go. And let's go ahead and give a little bit of space between these back ones as well. Oops, I don't want to do both. We just want that one and that one. And we'll go ahead and grab the translate X on both of these. We'll go delete them. Let's try that. Okay, I feel like this guy is a little, those ups are a little too high on there. Maybe we can just tone that down a little bit. Let's take the translate Y's on this, and we'll play them up a little bit as well for when the foot raises up. Let's try watching that now. Okay, now let's try adding a little bit of side-to-side sway, so the hips would go that way because it would lean towards the planted foot, and that way because it would lean towards the planted foot. This is probably going to be too much, so we might have to tone that down. I think this is at least for me, it's a fun variation of what I usually do. So it might not turn out as good as our other one, but it's definitely fun to try these different rigs and see what we can get out of them and see how we can push them. as much intersection on there. Okay, so let's grab the scale lie here. We're just going to do a little bit. We're not going to do too much. But I don't like how much it's intersecting into the head of this controller here. So there's going to be some foot slips here, and I don't know that unless we do everything on ones, that's going to be something that we can avoid. But we'll see what we can get. I think I want to take the translates though and switch them so that these are the down positions and the others are the ups. So let's watch it now. Now let's add a little, we scaled it up here, so we want to scale the translate X down and then squish it. This is that squash and stretch principle that we had, that we were talking about earlier. So let's see. Let's tone that down a bit though, it's a little too much. This is definitely a fun rig and a fun challenge to try and see if we can get something nice out of this rig. Maybe we could do a little bit of Z as well. So squish it in there, squash it up there, squish it in there as it reaches up and squash it down, squish it in, squash it down, squish it in, and squash it out, just to make sure we're keeping some volume and everything in there. I think that's going to be too much change of shape though. We'll have to just find a good middle ground here. Let's see. The other thing I want to do is I think I want to switch the rotates so they rotate this way when they raise up. So rotate this way. So that way there's more change of shape in the feet. I don't know if I like that idea. Okay, there's just way too much squash and stretch going on, so we're just going to go ahead and shrink all that down a bit more. The idea is good, but I think it's just too much, so let's see. It's still too much. Let's see. Should put my graph editor work back on the screen. I'm not doing that as much today. Make sure we're still recording here. Okay. how slow the feet are going down, but we want to make sure that they're not too... Okay. What if we took the translate Y's on the head, shrunk them down and reversed them? Let's try that. Sorry, I'll bring the graph editor stuff back up here so you guys can see what I'm doing here on this new animation challenge we have for the day. Let's see. Stop that. First head. Try it this way instead. Let's see. Let's go ahead and we'll scale everything. Squash it down. Squash it. Let's try and do something more like this. I'm just trying to get a little bit more of that squash and stretch into the head as well. Key that, we'll move it there, key that. Key selected. Key selected. Key selected. And key selected. We're just kind of mimicking those squash and stretches that we had. But that way we get something a little more uniform. To hopefully avoid the problem that we were having on the chest with that. So let's see. Let's go ahead and make sure we got everything going on the same frame here. And let's go ahead and delay it 2 frames. So let's see. Yeah, let's delay it 2 frames and then reverse what we have on the head. So the ups are the downs and the downs are the ups. Okay, let's try that one. We need to make sure it kicks up enough here so that there is some... I like the idea of it kind of popping off of the stem there and then I want to accentuate the up and down on that torso as well. So let's see. That's not exactly what I want there. So let's just bring it down there. Let's try this. Okay, I like the head alright, that's okay. Feels a little bubbly because we added that squash and stretch. So let's see if we can get a better version of that into our chest area here. Let's do something like that. So it would be like try something like that. So I'll key that and duplicate that over to there. Duplicate that over to there. Duplicate that over there. And duplicate that over to there. And then let's take this and there. And duplicate that. And duplicate that. And duplicate that. Let's see. Does the translate feel off here? Let's try it now. So it kind of kicks it up. I kind of like that idea. I feel like there's not enough up and down on it though. So let's try raising it up a little bit, and we want to make sure that we're getting down enough on there. Okay, let's tone down that squash and stretch a little bit here. It looks like we got a loose key on this one here, so I want to go fix that. I think what I want to do is do something like this. Move it back to there. Key it there. Let's delete that. Make it kind of fatter to begin with. And then we'll take, key those, drag it to 12, key that, drag it to 24, key that, drag it to 36, key that, and drag it to 48, key that. Okay, let's watch that. Okay, let's translate, fix those translation problems. Let's just watch it. And let's fix the translates here. We've got to bring those down a little bit more. Okay, let's watch it. Now let's go ahead and delete this translate Z, so I'll just make it more of like a cycle there. It's a fun little creeper block. Now let's make sure we have everything there mimicked there, so that way we can delete some of that, and we want to go ahead and delete translate Z, so that way it loops better. We'll just keep it a cycle instead of a forward walk on this one. Let's go ahead and take what we have on the head, and we'll delay it one more frame. So let's see. I don't like that. Here it feels too skinny. So let's take what we have at, let's say, 2 scale, key that, and go ahead and set that for there, delete that, and pull that over to 12, key that, pull that over to 24, key that, 36, key that, and 48, and key that. we'll add like a breakdown in here for the head when it translates. So we can favor the down position, and then we'll favor the 8 to 14 up position, favor the down, favor the up, favor the down, favor the up, favor the down, and favor the up. Okay, let's watch that now. Okay, now let's go in and even those out a little more. Okay, let's try watching. Okay, let's try just favoring the downs and delete all the favoring the ups and see how that works. Now it feels a little jerky though, so let's try kicking those up a little bit more. And evening them out a little bit more. Let's see. Maybe a little less favored. Too much. Okay, pull the graph header up here again so you guys can see what I'm doing. Just trying to add a little bit of a feel of a kick up from the hips into the head. Just a little bit, because I like the overall move from it. Before the next, before the next. Okay, let's try watching that now. Okay, now these are still feeling too much like it's compressing inward on here, so we gotta figure out which scale that is. Is it the Z? Yeah. Let's go ahead and try that. It's the X and the Z. Let's try that now. Alright, let's just do key that and key that. So we'll just have less X and Z scale. Let's try that. I wish there was controllers on the eyes and stuff too. That'd be fun to play with. Let's kick those feet up a little bit more on the up positions. So those back steps are noticeably bigger than the front steps are noticeably bigger than the back steps. Now, what if we take up, take back? This might mess everything up, but we'll try it. Do a little rotate X. And I think I'm going to have to kick this or tone that down a whole lot too. Let's see if that feels better. Okay, let's tone it down though. So it's just a little bit. It's just the scale still too much. I know it's because it's twisting, but we want to get that. Key those. And we'll key those. And key that. And key that. Key that. Okay, let's see what we get now. No, now I feel like it's 2 less. Ah, boo. Okay, so let's just put it at 2. So we'll delete that. And it was just about there though. So we don't want to find a good happy medium in there. So it doesn't feel like it's squishing too much inward and compressing. So key those there. Key that there. Oops. Thing that's going on here. Kicking up and it's pulling back and it lifts up. And here it should be. Okay, these two need to not have rotate on them there. So drag them down a little bit though, they're not touching the ground there. I'll make sure they're actually planted on the ground. Okay, we want to rotate that out, over, and then have it go into it. Okay, let's try watching it out. Okay, now we got it seeming to work pretty well. It feels like it's got some plants and everything down. But maybe when they go, let's just do each one here. They go up, they should go out a little bit more. So let's do a little bit of, actually let's pause what we're doing here, and we're just gonna file, save as, cancel, save scene as, it's kind of weird screen I don't normally see, so we're just gonna save it as soon as it takes a second. Now that's just one of the things that I like using the older versions of Maya for when doing these videos, is sometimes it takes a little bit to open and close files in 2014. Okay, we're just gonna save it as Creeper Walk and save that. And again, I will put a link to the rig below, and where you can get it, and Creative Crash's website and everything as well. One thing I haven't been doing is you could do just a second here. Do a little bit of back and forth on the head as well, so I could get a little bit into the translate Z's here. just probably going to be a little bit, but that way it'll add a little bit of forward and back to the head as well. So let's see. Yeah, that's no good. I think the problem is we need to shrink it down and do forward and back instead of just. So we want it to be. Try to keep it right in the middle there all the time. So let's see. Let's try watching it now. Versus if we just don't have it in. Let's see. Let's watch it from the front. Let's try taking out those transit borders. Yeah, I like it better like that. It's too jerky for some reason there. And we do want to make sure that we didn't futz with our keys for some reason there. Yeah, see, I knew that was going to be a thing. Translate Z was going to be funky there. Okay, now let's watch that. Okay, just gonna save that again and turn our NURBS curves, NURBS surfaces, and polygons on. We're gonna hide this, and we're gonna turn off our NURB curves, and let's watch it here for a second. Let's go ahead and delay that one frame. Felt like that step was a little too quick. Let's go ahead and delay that one frame as well. Okay, because we want this to hit on 7, and this should hit on, okay, 9, that's fine, 2 frames. And this will hit on 12, so this should hit on 14. So that way they're each 2 frames apart. Let's go ahead and favor let's just take everything that we have on the translate Y on that controller there, and go ahead and just pull it down a little more. Yeah, that's too much. Just want a a couple of things I noticed about this rig. I think it's a fun rig to play with. It doesn't have enough controllers really to get some of the things that I would like it to be able to do, but it is fun to play with for sure. I'll definitely leave a link in the comments below. Let me know if you've messed around with this rig and if you've found some other ways to get some fun animation out of it. I think it's a really good starter rig. You know, if you're just looking for something real simple and real basic, you can go in here, and I'm sure if you just want to, you know, do point A to point B, definitely good for that. If you just want to make a, you know, a quick little screen grab and use it as a background or something, good for that. As far as animation goes, I'd like a lot more of the controllers. I ended up not using a lot of the controllers that were there already and just going off of a lot of just the parts itself and animating those together. So there's going to be a little bit of foot slipness because you couldn't really plant that foot very well, because there's no way to really bend and arc that one little stump. But I think for, you know, a first try with this rig and just cracking it open and sharing this with you guys and talking about animation, I think it was a good first go at this rig. And if you like this series, if you like kind of taking a more in-depth look at what are some of these free rigs that you can try out and animate, definitely let me know in the comments below. And if you have any suggestions or different rigs you'd like to try to play around with and see what we can get, definitely let me know. Leave links in the comments below if you have ideas. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. As far as today goes, just keep those 12 principles of animation in mind, and don't be afraid to try new things, challenge yourself. Just grab something out there and just play with it and just practice your animation and learn more and more from that. I hope you guys have a wonderful and awesome day. Thank you for watching. Remember, if you do like it, throw me some thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. I'll be doing videos every day for the foreseeable future. So I hope that you guys enjoy them. Share the channel with your friends. Subscribe. Let me know if there's things that you want me to do more of or do less of. And overall, I just really hope that you guys are challenging yourself to get better at whatever it is that you're doing in life, in your relationships, in your creative stuff, and all of that stuff, that you're just pushing yourself to get better and better and better every day. And with that being said, I think we're going to call it a walk for today. And I hope you guys have an awesome, wonderful day, and we will see you. Yeah, you. Not you, but you. Yeah, you. Or maybe you. Okay, both of you. Tomorrow.